expecting to play a pretty short session today. It's going to be a session of many firsts. First session wearing a face mask. Six-handed poker here in the Bellagio poker room. Normally I'd be a huge fan of that. Not exactly sure these are the best circumstances for the change to six-handed poker, but definitely a fan of the elbow room and the leg room that provides. There's lots of different methodology that poker rooms are using to deal with the current situation. Here at the Bellagio poker room, they're going six-handed and plexiglass. Again, first time playing with plexiglass, first time playing with a mask on. Probably leave this session a little bit on the earlier side. Then again, it definitely wouldn't be the first time that I end up saying that and end up staying much longer than anticipated. Played one really fun hand of poker so far. There was one limper, looked down at 9-7 of spades and make it 40 to go. The big blind and the limper make the call. Flop ourselves an open-ender. I c-bet it and only the big blind calls. Turn, a flush draw, checks, I bet full pot and he calls again. River would make the nuts. Just like old times here at the Bellagio. He leads out for $400. That's always fun. He's got about $650 behind or so. I jam it all in, but unfortunately we can't get the rest. No complaints. Poker vlogging can often come with its own set of difficult circumstances, often in the form of filming and audio and stuff like that. But one of the things that does not usually fall into the difficulty category, the difficult to work with category, is the storyline. Your time at the poker table and the storylines that just naturally develop through a poker session and really lend themselves to this medium and often makes it pretty easy to help tell a story. I kept getting whacked by this one guy on my direct right. He just owned me 2 or 3 times. It didn't help that I kept trying to bluff him and he just wasn't in a folding mood. So there was definitely some contributions that were given on my end. The first time that I get absolutely wrecked versus this guy is when we are in a 3-bet pot, small blind versus button. It's going to be a pretty frequent situation playing six-handed. You're probably going to want to be 3-betting decent percentage of your hands that are playable. Playing out of position kind of sucks in this game. Anyway, this is one of those instances where I take the king 10 off suit, barrel the flop, check on the turn, and then fire on the river, which is ace high. But my opponent is apparently non-believing and calls us down with like 19th pair. Clearly that one does not work out. A little bit later on, blind versus blind. I have the queen 9 offsuit. I raise pre-flop. I bet flop. I bet turn after we turn to double gutter. Again, he's just not believing. I give it up on the river. Maybe I should fire, maybe not, who knows. But anyway, he calls us down with 37th pair on the board this time. So yeah, clearly this guy has my number, but good news is there are other opponents at the table that we can try and win some money off of. And as mentioned, storylines developing. Turns out I can get revenge versus a completely different opponent. In this hand, we get a little bit of a get back here. Pocket queens helps to have a premium hand. 3-bet pre-flop, bet the flop. He's pretty short stacked and it does not give us the rest of the chips on the turn, but it sets up all of these things set up for a pretty nice sequence later on, and definitely in the hand of the night when we look down at pocket 9s. We go ahead and raise a pre-flop in a 3-way pot going to a flop, which comes down ace deuce 3 rainbow. The aforementioned player leads right out on this flop. He leads into us for $50. Obviously not the best flop, but I wonder if there are some circumstances and some instances where my opponent could have a worse hand that is sort of testing the waters. Probably not too often, but for one single bet with just the one overcard, I'm not too eager to fold pocket 9s right away. I make the call for $50 and the player behind me folds. The turn comes down a beautiful 9 of hearts. He puts out another bet. It's only $70, and the fact that A, it's a small bet, B, there's a flush draw on board, C, he has seen me sort of bluffing my face off versus another opponent at the table, and he folded in the previous hand when I had pocket queens against him. I think he might be a little bit curious, and with my reputation that I've developed thus far, I don't think he's going to fold all that often once he's led into me again. So I make it $210 $230 here on the turn. He thinks for a while and then he makes the call. River is a perfect card. It's an offsuit jack, so nothing changes. The flush draw misses. Potential pair plus straight draws such as like ace 5, those do not improve either. A good hand such as like ace 3, something like that, is going to be very incentivized to call another bet. So after he checks it over to me, $650 is the price, and my opponent thinks for a very long time. I think somebody calls the clock on him, not entirely sure though. I didn't hear anybody. He said he heard somebody call the clock. Don't know, doesn't matter. Most important fact is that he ends up making the call. So we're gonna scoop those chips in. That's the pot of the night for sure. Things work out in the end. It's a swingy session at the Bellagio. We were up early in the session as reported earlier. Then I was down somewhere around $500, maybe $600. Finished the session up just about this much. Quite happy with it. As a guy who has not played a single hand of live poker since March of this year, quite happy with it.